Good morning. Today I'm going to be doing a presentation on how to grow your brain. Again, I want to introduce myself. I am Ms. Sosa. I am one of the youth advocates or school counselor. On our last lesson, we did a second step lesson and I did a little bit of introducing myself and my family and I showed you a video, a picture of my dog. We learned a little bit about the second step program and how it can help you navigate middle school. How students, when starting middle school, bring up challenges we may face in school. Now the challenges are different as well because you have now gone to distance learning and you need to be at home to take your classes. Instead of showing up to school and talking with your friends and meeting your teachers and staff in person, the school staff in person. On our previous lesson, in the video from the first lesson, the 1A, that is, you can find it on the Google Classroom, you heard from middle schoolers that expressed what they thought some of their challenges would be when they enter middle school. Like one of the challenges was mentioned getting lost, worry about if the classes are going to be too hard, thinking maybe worries about the classroom and your peers, having some drama. I think it is interesting how we think that we are the only ones that have these challenges in our head, but most students feel the same way. So I hope that video helped you see that it's not only you that worry, it's also your classmates that are in the class with you. So you're not alone. So I want you to explore this question. How can you support a student that attends LMEC? One thing to think about is not only to worry about your own challenges, but if you step back and see a student in your school that needs help, how would you know if somebody needed help? What would be some of the signs? Just think about that in your head. When you have been walking in school before and then you see a student that is walking by themselves, how can you tell if somebody needs help? So think about that for a little bit. So some of the ways that we see that other students need help is that they may seem confused, maybe frustrated, seem worried, seem uncertain. They're looking around like they don't know where to go or what to do. Are you reading people's body language? Because that's what it seems like we're doing. By looking at people's posture, their face, we can tell a lot about people just by observing. Sometimes people don't communicate with words, but we still know that they need help. We as human beings communicate with our body language, not only with our oral language, but mostly we communicate through body language. So, did you know that? That most of the time you are talking and letting people know how you're feeling just by the way you walk, the way you talk. So keep that in mind. What does your body language communicate? So think about that. When you worry about another student's well-being, this is called empathy. Have you heard of the word empathy? What does empathy mean to you? What does empathy mean? Empathy is having the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. So, when you're walking down the hall in LMEC one of these days, or maybe you're Zooming with your class, and the student doesn't look so good. I remember I was in one of the assemblies and one student put in the chat, are you feeling okay? You look sad. So how would you know when a person feels sad? Maybe because you felt sad too. And since you felt sad and you see somebody who's feeling sad, you feel empathy because you felt that feeling before and it doesn't feel very good. But it's very nice to reach out to a friend and ask, are you okay? because that is called empathy. You are feeling what the other person, you understand what the other person is feeling. List ways that you can be of service to other students here at school, or maybe it doesn't have to be students here at school. It could also be your family members, your friends, your cousins. How about when we come back to school, with your teachers, with your staff? How can you be of service as a human being? If you see that somebody is in distress, what are things that you can do to help? So I listed 4 things that you could do. You probably already know these, but since I am not actually talking to you face to face and I'm recording this, I just want to give you some 4 options, but there are so many others. But these are just a few that I thought about. Maybe during the class work I give you in the Google Classroom, you can add some more ways that you can help a student that is not feeling well at school. So one of the things you can do to help someone and be of service is ask someone, do you need anything? If you can tell by their body language, their face expression that they need help. So you could ask, do you need anything? You can also approach a student in distress and ask, can I help you? That would be another one. So if you do not know what to do, ask the student what they need from you. Maybe they'll tell you. Maybe they'll tell you. But if you don't know what to do and then you are certain that a friend or somebody needs help and you don't feel comfortable approaching the student or the person that you're seeing that is under stress or distress, is you can look for a trusted adult and tell the adult about the student that needs help. And the adult will take care of that. But it's a good thing that you communicate and let them know that there is a student that needs help. So those are 4 different things that you can do and be of service to somebody else as a human being. So we have explored different ways we can make our school a welcoming place for new students. Challenge yourself this week. Notice students in your Zoom classes or family members who look confused or uncertain and ask if they need help. Put one of the ways of helping we talked about today in action. In the next lesson, we'll learn about our amazing brains and what we can do to grow and strengthen our brains. So here we go. So this is our second part, how to grow your brain. Our goals for this section is, we have objectives. I want you to be able to describe what happens in your brain when you try something new. Because you have a brain, you want to know what's going on up there. Describe how your brain changes with experience and with practice. And please know these vocabulary words. They're going to be in your classwork in the Google Classroom on the form. So look at this word. The first one is a neuron. What is a neuron? And I put what it means. It's a neuron is a noun, a cell that sends and receives signals in your brain. And what is a neural pathway? That is a connection of neurons that forms when you repeat an action or a thought. That you have neurons in your brain. So I'm going to be asking you, what is a neuron? What is a neural pathway? Learning something new is almost always difficult, but all of us have gotten better at something because we keep doing it. The more you practice something, the more your brain grows. It's like when you were growing up and you were a baby. You couldn't walk when you were a baby, but as you started trying to walk, at the beginning you waddled a little bit and you kept falling, but you still got up and kept going. What happens with all that practice? That means that your brain keeps growing, and that means with practice, it makes perfect. So a lot of you are very lucky to be able to be walking and running. Not all of us can do it, but most of you can. But that is just one example of how your brain grows as you practice something and that you get better at it as you practice it. But what does it really mean to grow your brain? To answer that, we need to understand how our brains function. Our brains have approximately 86 billion special cells called neurons. Okay, so how many neurons do you have in your brain? It says 86 billion special cells. 86 billion. When we learn something new, our brain grows neural pathways. See, it's growing neural pathways as you're listening to this video. So now we're going to watch a video that shows how these neural pathways form when we're learning something new. While you watch, take note of what the video says about how we grow our brains. So I'm going to be asking you. So I'm going to go to the video so you can watch how to grow your brain.
There are billions and billions of neurons, and they all have branches that reach out. When the branches get close enough, they're connected, and energy zings along the pathways they make. Making these connections is what we're wired for. When you learn something new, the neurons grow and connect. They make an actual path for thinking and remembering. Scientists have actually studied how people's brains change after they learn to juggle. In this experiment, one group of people took juggling lessons and practiced every day. The other group did not. When scientists compared images of the two groups' brains, there were changes in the brains of the juggling students. One part of their brains got stronger. Scientists believe this is the part of the brain that was exercised in the juggling practice.
So that was the video on growing your brain. So one of the activities we were supposed to do if we weren't on distance learning is trying to juggle. You can practice that at home. Just be safe. If you use a tennis ball and try juggling two at a time to see how it goes. And then little by little, you'll get a little bit better at juggling. So I'm on, let's see, let me go back to the presentation. So we watched that little video. Now, what do you think will happen to your brain after you have turned in your work on Google Classroom for a few weeks? So do you think that now that you're learning to maneuver virtual classrooms, turning in work, Googling, going into Zoom, and looking up all your teachers' Google codes for your Google Classroom, learning all the material your teacher's giving you, do you think you will get better at online learning with all this practice that you're having? I wonder, do you think your brain is growing when you're learning something online? Definitely. So, without you knowing, you getting up and coming to school, your brain is growing. Even if you don't feel like getting up in the morning, but you're still getting up and you're doing your work. Continue to do that so that you can feed your brain and make it grow. And you're going to get better at it every day. So now, to wrap up our lesson, how does practicing something new and difficult grow and strengthen your brain? So, what's something you want to practice this week? And I put some examples of, hey, maybe sports. Try that juggling thing. Maybe if you try juggling, 2 tennis balls, just be careful that you're not next to your mom's lamp or anything. Just go out to your backyard with your parents' permission, of course. And you can practice baking along with your maybe an adult at home that could help you with that, and they can teach you how to bake. The more you bake, the better you'll be at it, which means your brain is growing and all those dendrites are making some connections, your neurons. And cleaning. Also, if you clean, you'll get better at it. So that means your brain is growing too. So this is the wrap up. I'm going to be putting, I think it's already on the Google Classroom along with this video, go ahead and fill out that Google form. I have questions for you. I want to know that you're doing the work. If you are not, or you know a friend that hasn't done and listened to this lesson, let your friends know that they need to do it, because the more they know, the more their brain is growing. So I'm going to exit, and I look forward to being with you again next week, October 1st, for another exciting lesson. Have a good afternoon.